All right, it's got the countdown. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matthew here, and welcome to today's video where we're going to be discussing how anyone can actually replace their income. Now, for many of you, you already know that life happens. Maybe you get sick, or maybe you know someone who has gotten sick, whether that's critical, whether that's chronic, or maybe they've lost their job, or maybe they had some type of injury. You know someone that this has happened to, and it's cause for them to actually lose their income or to be able to actually participate in what is providing them income. So, in today's video, what I'm actually going to be sharing with you is how you can actually replace your income and the 4 steps to decide how much income do you actually need to be able to replace your income. Now, for many people, they actually do not prepare for the worst case scenario. Of course, we don't ever want bad things to happen. However, it's better to be prepared if something happens than to not be prepared when something happens. And what I've actually discovered is that there are many people who are going throughout life day by day. They're working hard at their job. Men are out there protecting their families. Wives are out there taking care of the families. And they end up having no one else to actually help them in a time of need. So there are different options out there, and many people don't know because they're not educated, and there are these options are not talked about among everyday people, such as you and such as myself. So here are basically some things that you need to consider when it actually comes to you wanting to make sure that you are good in case of any type of situation or life event that happens. And that is actually with life insurance. Now, I know many people already, you're probably going to tune out, but do not tune out yet, because the old life insurance is you basically had to wait until you died. So, death. That is what the old life insurance is. And that's why so many people actually deteriorate, or they go away from actually thinking about life insurance. But with the new life insurance actually has living benefits. So, what does it actually mean for it to have living benefits? Living benefits mean that you have benefits with your life insurance policy as you are living. All right. And this is very important because not very many people know about this. And many people will say that life insurance isn't important. They will say that life insurance is a scam. They will say all these things to basically say that they don't want to learn about life insurance. But life insurance has living benefits. And when you actually understand how it's utilized or how you can utilize it, that is what's going to allow for you to be able to get the maximum benefit from it, and understand that, hey, I can utilize this to not just leave some money for my family when I die, but I can also use this in case life happens, such as an injury, whether it's critical, or whether you have a chronic sickness, or whether you lose your job, different things like that. So, when it comes to life insurance, there are actually 3 different types of life insurance. All right. So we have what's called a term life insurance policy. All right. And what is a term life insurance policy? Simply put, I want you to think of a term life insurance policy as you actually renting an apartment. Renting. All right. You're renting an apartment. Maybe you're renting a house. And what generally happens when you go and you rent an apartment or you rent a house? Generally, you go, you put a deposit down, then you're paying the rent every single month. It might be a 6-month term or a lease, it might be a 12-month lease. And when you are actually renting, you are putting money into that apartment every single month. All right. That handles your maintenance, that handles, if something breaks in the house, and that allows for you to have shelter over your head. But the downfall of actually renting is, or one of the downfalls, is the fact that when you get done renting, you can't take this apartment with you. And that's the same thing with term insurance. Term insurance actually usually lasts about 10 to 15 to 30 years. And you will basically end up paying what's called a premium. And all that is just a monthly subscription that you have decided to pay, or you've agreed to pay over a certain period of time, 10, 15, 20, 10, 15, or 30 years. And by you actually paying that over a specific period of time, what that ends up doing is that allows for you to have access to insurance in case of when you die, if you die, sooner than you expect to. Now, what generally ends up happening is when people get these types of policies, that's all that it covers. All right, that's all that it covers. And you basically are making sure that, hey, in the case that I die or when I die, I want to make sure that my family doesn't have to worry about taking care of me, or they have to worry about burial and all those different things. But this is something that expires. That's what I want you to take away. A term insurance policy is a policy that expires. Now, we actually have the second type of policy, which is called a whole life policy. All right. So whole life. So this is literally what it says. This policy covers you from or for your entire life. Now, when this policy actually covers you for your entire life, is also called a permanent policy. Now, a great thing about this policy is that it has different options. Now, I don't know about you, but I like having options when it comes to things like this. And not very many people are taught about these different options. But one of the options is you could actually have a return on ORP. And basically what an ORP is, not ORR, ORP. So basically what an ORP is, return on premium. So what can end up happening is when you go and you get a whole life policy, you've been paying in, and you end up being able to potentially get some of those funds back after you, or actually, I'm sorry, I apologize. There are certain terms that you can get, and one of the terms you can get is a return on premium policy. That was in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. So that's what return on premium. So you have it can expire, and then you have where you can get a return on premium policy for your term. Now, when it comes to whole life, your whole life policy is for your entire life. So when you actually put money into it, you are covered. If you live to be 100, you are going to be covered. And then at the point that you pass away, that is actually going to go to your family or whoever your beneficiary is. But one of the great things about this whole life policy is this right here, cash value. So basically what cash value means is that you basically, in simple terms, have a savings account. You have an account where your money is earning some type of interest. And as you put money in, it's going to be accumulating value. It's going to continue to accumulate value. And as you have this policy continue to accumulate value, this is where the income replacement actually happens. This right here. You have this income replacement where you can actually go and have access to the money that is in your benefit. So let's say for instance, we have this guy right here. So we're going to say this is Dave. All right. So Dave went and Dave got an insurance policy for $100,000. And for Dave to get that insurance, he's in good health. He's not a smoker. And he is, let's say, 34 years old. All right. So he's 34 years of age. And what the insurance company would do will say, well, typically people that are around Dave's age of 34 years old, non-smoker, in good health, generally we're going to have him pay about $50 per month for this $100,000. All right. So he goes, he gets this $100,000. Dave gets sick. But because he's been actually putting money into this whole life policy, Dave is no longer able to work. Dave is no longer able to take care of himself. So let's say that over the course of 5 years that Dave's been putting money in there, this $100,000 has went from $100,000 to $300,000 based on the interest. And when it actually goes up, now what Dave can do is when he sends his paperwork over to the company and say, hey, look, I had this issue or this life event that happened. I need to get access to some of this money. Well, the insurance company may say, okay, well, what we'll do is we will give you 50% of that. So we'll give you up to $150,000 to take care of everything. And basically, what that ends up doing, that he ends up being able to get that money. And this is the really important part, without paying any taxes. So this money right here is tax free. And the reason why it's tax free is because technically the money from this policy, they're saying, hey, look, we're going to give you a loan of this money. All right. And then you can pay it back. However, in the instance that you don't pay it back, what will happen is they will actually deduct however much you didn't pay back. So let's just say that he was only able to pay back $75,000. Well, if he was only able to pay $75,000 back, then what would happen is whatever his death benefit is, which is this 300,000, that will actually get deducted from this 300,000, and then you will end up being able to, or his family will end up being able to get the rest of that. So this will pay off the rest of the loan, and then his family will end up getting the rest of it. Now, how do you actually go to determine how much you actually need and what policy is actually best for you? Well, there are 4 steps and 4 things that you need to consider. And it's actually an acronym, and it's called DIME. All right. It's called DIME. And these are the 4 steps. So I want you to write this down. All right. 4 steps. The first one is you want to see how much debt do you have. So this is credit card debt. Maybe you have a car loan. Maybe you have student loans. You want to see how much debt you actually have. So let's say that for this example, let's say that this person has $20,000 in debt altogether. All right. So that's the first number. They have debt. They have $20,000 worth of debt. So then let's say that now for the income, that's what the I is for. For the income is like, okay, I am currently earning, $80,000 per year. All right. So now what we actually want to do is we want to take this 80,000 and we want to multiply it by 10, because this is actually going to be 10 years. All right. So we want you to make sure, or want to make sure, at least when I help my clients, I want to make sure that they have income for at least 5 to 10 years, because you never know what life or what happens in life, and you may need that time to actually heal and different things like that. I was actually reminded when I was out at an event, there was a young lady, and she said that she helped one of her clients who was a hairstylist, and she went and got a $250,000 policy. And about a year later, after getting that policy, she actually ended up developing breast cancer. So she had breast cancer. She had to go through chemotherapy, and she did not, or she was not able to go and actually cut hair or actually be a stylist. So what she ended up doing, she remembered that she had she called her agent. She said, hey, I have this life event that's going on. What can we do? Well, her life insurance agent said, look, you actually have a policy that has living benefits. So let's do the paperwork and let's see what you're able to get. The insurance company actually gave her up to about 98% of the money that was in her policy. And that was it was $248,000, and she had a policy for $250,000. So what ended up happening is she was able to utilize that money to, 1, take care of her son, 2, go through chemotherapy and not have to worry about going through to work. I personally believe that what ends up messing up a lot of people is when they have these critical and chronic illnesses, is the fact that they have to start thinking about all of this other stuff. They have to start thinking about, well, how they're going to make the money. Then they have to start thinking about, well, how they're going to pay this bill. And that ends up causing them not to be able to focus on healing, focus on getting better. And this can really be a detriment. And then basically what ends up happening, she was able to beat the cancer. She was able to have the surgery. So she had money for the surgery, money to take care of her son, money to take care of herself. And then she was able to bounce back. And that's one of the powers of having this income replacement with life insurance. So now you have these 10 years. So with the 10 years, if you take that and you multiply it by 10, that is what's going to end up giving you. That's what's going to end up giving you Sorry about that. Trying to make sure this thing is going right. All right. So when you end up having this come up, that's going to end up giving you times 10. It should be $800,000. Yep. So you have $800,000 right here, right? So you have $820,000. Now what you want to think about next is you want to think about your mortgage. All right. How much is your mortgage? All right. For generally on average, most people have a mortgage that is about $250,000. All right. $250,000 for their mortgage. Now, you're going to take that and you're going to add it up. So now we have another $250,000 that's added to this. Then the last one is expenses. Now, how much does it cost for you to live every single month? Now, if it's just you, I would say that for me, I actually live off of $3,000 per month. All right. So now what you want to do is you want to take that $3,000 per month and you want to times that by 12. And then that's what's going to end up giving you $36,000 for the year. All right. So now you have all of these things right here that now you want to go and you want to add up. So you have 36,000 and then you have this 20,000. So now we're going to go and we're going to add that up. So we have 820,000 plus 1 million. So we have 1 million right here with just these three. We have 1 million $70,000, and then we add that 36 on there. So then we end up having a grand total of 1,100,006, and that's how much money that you will actually need for your insurance policy. Now, many people will look at these numbers and they will say, "Well, Matthew, I can't be able to afford this because if I end up doing this, what that's going to end up doing, like that's going to end up taking a lot of money out of my pocket because this has to be like $200,000 or $300,000. This has to be, or not $200,000, $300,000. This has to be, $400 or $500 a month or $1,000 a month." And that is actually the power of life insurance. And it's the power of actually having someone that is in your corner. And that's the reason why I decided to become an independent life insurance agent. Because generally with most of these companies, what they will do is they will actually go and they will say, "Hey, look, I'm with this company. This is what we have. This is the only thing that I can offer you." And what that causes for people to do is it causes for them to be stuck in a situation that they are not happy with. They're basically paying these high premiums for these life insurance policies, and then they realize that they can't pay it. The life insurance policy ends up going out or lapsing, as it's called. And when it lapses, now you're not able to get that back. And later on down the road, what ends up happening is the fact that now you're older, and life insurance has to do with your age, and it has to do with your health. So as you continue to get older, your insurance policies are going to start to get higher and higher and higher because of your age, because you're more at risk. Now, generally, when you have insurance policies like this and everybody's different, it can range anywhere, depending on how your policy is set up and what company you're with. It can range anywhere between $50 per month and $50 per month and $300 per month to be able to get access to this. Now, besides the fact of your age having something to do with this, what else plays a factor? Well, the other thing that plays a factor is what type of policy do you have? If you have a term life policy, you'll be looking closer to the $50 mark. Maybe it's $50 or $70 or $100 per month. But if you have a whole life policy, or yeah, if you have a whole life policy, that could be anywhere between $100 to maybe even up to $300, depending on how it's structured. I want you to understand this. When it comes to life insurance, when it comes to replacing your income, you have to make sure that the person you are speaking with, you have to make sure that they are structuring your policy correctly. And unfortunately, it is a lot of people that are out here actually selling insurance are only thinking about themselves and they're not thinking about the clients. And that was one of the main reasons why I decided to become a life insurance agent. Is one, I wanted to make sure that people knew about the access that they had to having money to be able to help them when life happens. The second reason is because there are so many people out there who are just pocket gouging and they're not actually helping people. They're not making sure that they're educating people on the right things when it comes to life insurance policies. This is not something that you just go to the grocery store and you say, this looks good, let me sign up. Because if this is structured the wrong way, what will end up happening is that you think you may have living benefits and you really don't have living benefits. You may think that you have money that's building up and that's accumulating interest, and you don't have money that's building up and accumulating interest. And that is why I wanted to become a life insurance agent, is to be able to educate people about, one, the options that they have when it comes to income replacement. And number two, I wanted to make sure that people were properly educated on their policies and that they were getting exactly what they believe that they were signing up for. So these are the 4 steps that you need to remember. I want you to remember DIME, DIME, DIME. You need to see how much debt you have. You need to see what is your income and multiply that by 10. What is your current mortgage? And then I want you to see what your monthly expenses are, multiply that by 12 to get your yearly. And this is what you actually want to be able to focus on when it comes to getting a life insurance policy. So I hope that this video was able to help you. If you want to know more information or you want to see what this would actually look like for you, I want you to just go ahead and like this video and I will reach out to you. And I hope that you all have an amazing day. So I'll catch you later.